You've got the ideas, he's got the plan. Building Ideas with Mark Millar.
This Radio.
Good morning, I'm Mark Millar on Building Ideas in partnership with Building Superstore. On today's show, I have Harvey Fremlin, Managing Director at the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, is here to discuss the challenges we face as self-builders and all the trends and technology in the market.
Building Ideas
with buildingsuperstore.co.uk, specifically designed to meet the needs of builders and professional contractors.
Fix Radio.
So here on Building Ideas, I've got Harvey Fremlin, Managing Director at the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, who's here to discuss the challenges we face as self-builders. Harvey, thank you for joining me again, first of all. For the experienced self-builders or tradespeople building for profit, what's a good next project to consider and why?
One that they're going to be genuinely interested in. So if you're doing a self-build project, whether you're a new self-builder and this is your first rodeo, or you are a trader and you've been doing this for a number of years, you've got to be really invested in it. It's got to be something that kind of sparks that passion within you, because then you're going to get it right. You're going to make the right decisions in terms of the products that you're choosing, the time that you spend on the project. One thing that we always mention about this, so important, is that wherever you're building, there is a natural cap to the value of a property. So don't go and buy some sort of rundown property, knock it down and think you're going to build a mansion that's going to be worth £2 million. It's not. It's going to be worth at the most the kind of natural cap in that area. So make sure you're building somewhere that you want to live in, or if you're looking to sell it, just be aware of your budget. Budget is so important.
And do you find in self-build people are buying to sell on or buying to live?
Vast majority are designing and building a home that they intend to be in for a number of years. And in fact, actually, one of the joys of a self-build project is you can claim the VAT back on the materials that you brought during the project. But you can only do that if you're intending for that to be your primary home for a number of years. So that's just something to be aware of. It's not, self-build is not really the method if you're looking to turn a property quickly and make a fast
that
buck.
doesn't happen.
No, I mean
it can happen, but you don't get the VAT back.
But the majority of people that are going to the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, they are newcomers probably to the whole world of building for a start. They're on this massively steep learning curve. They're really excited about the project. They want to gather as much information and advice as they possibly can, and they're doing it because they want to create something that is beautifully designed around their family and their needs. So whether that's that they've got a home office or a space for the kids to run around in, that they just want a huge kitchen because that's the hub of the home for them and that's important to them. Done to great quality, and these days probably top of the list is that it's really highly energy efficient as well. So they're trying to tick all those boxes, and also
they're allowed to actually use their imagination, as you say, like their big kitchen and stuff. You're just not going to a contractor who's been building 50 houses in the field and they're all very similar. You can think about those big spaces. You can think about where the light's going to come in, your orientation. It's your dream.
You can put your own stamp on it, and you should be doing this because you've got a particular vision in mind. Now, some people really struggle to kind of put that vision on paper. They might have it in their heads, but put it down on some plans or drawings, and they really struggle. So that's where you need to find the right professionals around you, those people that are going to help you achieve what you actually want to, set out to deliver. So whether that's a designer or an architect or an architectural technician, those people at the early stages of a project that can help put your ideas onto paper to make sure you're delivering exactly what you want to.
That actually leads me on to my next question. What kind of self-build projects do you find the most intriguing and why?
For me, I think it's the projects where people have set out on a real sustainability journey. So whether that's looking at using natural materials during the project, or whether they're looking to create a home that is as energy efficient as they possibly can. We're all so aware of our energy consumption these days, after the war in Ukraine and the energy costs that we've seen over the last few years. So if you can design out your energy use in a property, that makes a huge difference. And it doesn't matter whether you're motivated by saving the planet or saving your wallet. The outcome is going to be the same. So we are seeing people come up with some really creative designs and using some fantastic products and materials to design out that energy consumption and enjoy this brilliantly efficient home that is sort of uber cheap to run, in all the years moving forward.
Fantastic. What's a really rewarding challenge?
I've seen case studies on our website where people have found a plot in the area that they want to build, and most things in self-build involves a number of compromises, and some of the really interesting ones are where they found a plot in the area, but it's a really difficult plot, so it might be on a really steep slope, for example, and they have with professionals around them come up with some great designs so that they can still turn that that awkward plot into an amazing property. So whether it's just looks like a one-story property at the front, but it actually drops down and it's 3 stories at the back, and they've used that space really creatively, that's where you get some amazing outcomes. And the value of those properties is incredible because they probably bought the plot relatively cheaply, because others might have looked at it and thought, well, we're never going to be able to get a lorry to get materials delivered there, we'll leave that one well alone. But with a bit of imagination and some amazing engineering, you can achieve some fantastic results.
Wow. And what have been some standout case studies and great builds you've seen from those involved with the NSBRC?
I just love the projects that have embraced all of the technologies and the best materials to make these homes as efficient as possible. And we have this phrase that we talk about at the National Self-Build Centre all the time, which is fabric first. So it's easy to get distracted by the kind of shiny, sexy technologies, your heat pumps, your solar panels, your battery storage, all those things which are amazing. But if you haven't got the insulation right in the property and the property's not airtight, then you're you're throwing good money after bad, because those products are never going to be able to perform effectively and give you the results you want. So fabric first, make sure you really focus on the quality of the build, get the insulation right. It's so much easier to do it first time. And
that's what's so beautiful about self-build, because it really does put you on the end of quality, because you want everything the best you can do it.
It does, and quality is really ultimately why people are doing this. So there's a perception, certainly amongst our visitors, but I think in the country as a whole, that the quality of homes that are built in the UK is just not good enough. We hear that on the news all the time, and rightly or wrongly, particularly the larger house builders, they get a bit of a bashing, don't they, with their reputation.
They do.
But self-builders, they're looking to achieve that really high quality, because it reflects on the look and aesthetic of the property, the way the property works in terms of energy performance, and it's just a much more comfortable environment to bring up your family.
So build your dream and build it well.
Exactly, and we try to avoid the phrase "build your dream home," because actually the truth is it is realistic for many people. You don't need a £1 million budget to be able to do a self build. It's a bit difficult with the numbers post-COVID, but we reckon there's about 9,000 to 10,000 people each year who are self-building their own homes. So it's a huge number. If you put all those together, that's the equivalent of a large housing developer, building these fantastic, really efficient homes. So, 10,000 people a year doing it. So why not you?
And you see that growing?
We did before COVID, and it is slowly coming back to pre-COVID levels. We are quite excited about all the noise politically that's happening around planning reform, because we know the number one barrier for potential self-builders is planning, either being stuck in the process, frustrated with the lack of resource in planning teams. So if some of this noise around planning turns into real positive change, I think that's going to be fantastic, not just for self-builders actually, but everyone in the house building sector.
Harvey, tell me, what's your advice for those retrofitting?
So retrofitting is a massive growth area in this country. So we reckon about 19 million homes in the UK need to be improved in the next...
Sorry, 90?
19 million homes in the UK for the government to have any chance to hit their net zero targets for 2030, then 2050, beyond that. It's a massive problem, but also opportunity, really. So again, our main advice is get the fabric right. So before you get distracted by heat pumps and the boiler upgrade scheme grant, and you think, oh, they're giving me thousands of pounds here to install a heat pump, that sounds great. It is, but only if the property is performing really well. So I actually went over to Ireland last year with a colleague to look at how they are retrofitting some of their properties. And the market's different, isn't it, to how it is in England and Wales. And so we were looking at lots of large bungalows. There's large single-storey properties.
There's quite a few of them around Ireland.
There are, with gorgeous surroundings and scenery. But what they're doing is they're wrapping them all in external wall insulation to make them far more thermally efficient. And then they're looking at installing air source heat pumps or ground source heat pumps if you've got enough land around you, and then combining that with underfloor heating and solar panels and all the technology that we know can be so effective. So it comes back to when you're retrofitting, getting the envelope of the building really well sealed. And it doesn't mean that you're living in a glass box and you can never open the windows. That isn't what retrofit's all about. But it does mean that you're tackling some of those core structural issues. That means you can then start to install the technologies that allow for a much more comfortable, energy efficient home.
And what are some of the good materials to insulate and replace and modernise aspects of your home with?
What we're looking at, so with insulation as an example, you've got either external wall or internal wall insulation options. The internal wall options, they eat into the footprint, the floor space that you've got inside the home. So often people are sort of resistant to that, but we're now seeing some new narrower or slimmer materials available, and some are actually embedded with plasterboard as well, so they're taking up less internal wall space but giving you that thermal efficiency. And then what's nice about the external wall insulation options is that you can render them or clad them in different materials. So obviously, depending on, you don't want your property to be sticking out like a sore thumb on the street that it's in. So depending on the character and also planning permission, if that's applicable.
So would I have to go for planning permission for that? That's what I was just going to ask.
It really depends on the extent of the project that you're undertaking. So if it's a retrofit with a small extension and you can get it under permitted development, great news, you don't need planning. But if it's changing the look or character of a property, or you're doing significant changes, it's always best to at least ask the question, because then you're not going to be having a difficult conversation when you've already spent the money and you're 2/3 of the way through the build. So if you're unsure, just check with your local planning authority.
Right, okay, that's good to know. Tell me, I find this quite exciting, but what's some of the new technology worth looking at when it comes to modernising and improving your existing home?
Well,
technology.
We're all getting excited, aren't we? Well, some of us are, about electrification. There's this big discussion about whether, all homes in the future should be 100% electric. And in fact, we asked our visitors in our 2024 survey this very question: should all new homes be 100% electric? And actually, I think the verdict's out at the moment. So 49% were fairly positive about that, 21% were fairly negative, and there was a whole group who were fairly neutral about it. But I think that is the way things are going for a lot of new homes. And I love these holistic systems where you can use your solar panels to charge your car on your driveway. If you're at work during the day, you can store that energy that's being produced. It's a glorious sunny day as we're talking today, Mark, isn't it? So if your solar panels are working really hard, and you can then capture that energy in batteries, and then use that in the evening when you and your family come home. I just think that's an really exciting.
So the solar panels have been around for ages, but now the battery pack joins it.
Yeah, and just as the solar panels started up being really expensive, and then the price of those has come down, we're now starting to see the battery storage units and all the bits of kit in between that allow them to talk to each other coming down in price.
And that's through demand, isn't it? It's just more and more people using them. The price is coming down, but also the technology is getting better and better. Yeah,
and more efficient and more effective as well. So even things like the old solar panels that we used to display in the centre 10 years ago, they used to have a kind of edge around them, and then that caused a shadowing effect which stopped the photovoltaic panels being quite so effective. But now you see that they're very slimline, just like TV sets are these days, really, with no edge, which means they're more efficient, more effective, and
they can also be set into the roof as well, so they're not standing out.
Exactly. So we've got inset systems. You've got solar panels that look like slate. So if you've got a slate roof and planning won't allow you to put a big solar panel on that array on that roof, you can now put slates that are actually solar panels.
It's great.
On the roofs. It's brilliant.
It's such an exciting industry to get into, even like young people coming through. There's so much in the building industry that is technical and fun, and
there is so much going on, and young people tend to be really motivated about the climate challenge that we all recognise that we're faced with. And I'll often say to people that come into the centre, we get lots of apprentices and college students coming into the centre to look at the exhibits that we have. I say, if you're really interested in protecting the planet and saving the planet, train to be a plumber or an electrician, because you can then have a direct involvement in installing these technologies that are reducing energy consumption. So it's a rapidly growing sector. There aren't enough young people training, but we know that's probably a whole nother show for another day.
It is. Let's talk about that again, actually, because that is something we do need to talk about. So we've got solar panels, we've got battery pack walls. Anything else get you going?
Then linking all those up to smart technology as well, so you can be on your app and you can be cooling your home for when you get home. You could be controlling your heating systems, and just all that integration of home automation I just find fascinating, and it is rapidly changing and becoming better and better. And then on the flip side of that, you've just got some really beautiful products. Like in the centre, we feature hundreds of different products and technologies, and sometimes you just look at a new set of stairs that a company has installed in the centre, just think, God, that is really gorgeous, and so don't forget, self-builders have got the opportunity to, as we were saying earlier, put their own design input into a property and make it an absolutely stunning property to look at as well as to live in.
I love the fact that you're actually talking about self-build, and I can hear passion in your voice. It's fantastic. You're so involved with it. What's some of the ways the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre can help with what we've discussed so far?
So the NSBRC, it's a absolutely unique resource. It's the only one in the UK. We're a permanent visitor centre, so we're open Tuesday to Sunday every week, all year round. And the first time people walk into the centre, they're going to see 4 show homes, fully built show homes, cross-sectional exhibits, and it really does have literally a wow factor. People will walk through the doors and go, wow, I didn't expect this. And we do our best to kind of represent it with our website and show people what we've got there. But it's not until you actually walk through the doors and see the scale of the building. It's 67,000 square feet. We've got over 200 exhibitors there of all the sort of latest products and technologies. And I think a really brilliant thing that we offer is our free help desk. So we've got a team of experts who have been in the trade in various professions for most of their careers, and as they're coming towards the end of their careers, they're now here at the centre to sit down with people, look at their plans, their ideas, their drawings, and just signpost them to the right, to make sure they make the right steps. And we're completely free.
Building ideas
with buildingsuperstore.co.uk. Good builds start with their superstores, the UK's leading online builders merchant.
Fix Radio.
We're here in 2024 with cost of living crisis, energy crisis, and a need to build sustainability into whatever we do. So what do you think of our current house building sector, and what would you like to see done differently?
Yeah, well, the cost of living has, undoubtedly had an impact on people's projects. So we asked people this year in our survey about cost of living, and 60% told us that it has affected their plans. And what they're doing about it is they plan to do more of the work themselves. Which is, I think, really interesting, because I guess that is the obvious cost saving. If you can add some sweat equity into a project and use yourself as a resource, then why wouldn't you? But obviously, there is a word of caution there. We would not advise people to be, installing the electrics and all the wiring in the house themselves.
Obviously,
plumbing, and actually, that's where sometimes I think people in the trade might think about self-build and say, oh, they're competition to us. But actually, the exact opposite is true. Self-builders need a team of people around them, highly experienced, great at what they do, and that can be trusted. So they will be looking to recruit the very best tradespeople in their area to help them on their project. Another thing that we've seen people have to do because of cost of living is increase their budget. and be more realistic about budgeting as well. So we can help people understand what kind of budget they're going to need, and contingency as well, to make sure, because we all know the cost of materials has been so volatile over the last couple of years, and although it's become more steady recently, you know, there's still that risk. For you look at a quote, you know, at one point, 3 months down the line, when you're actually ready to order the materials, you've got this surprise because it cost 20% more than it did, you know. So, and we've all seen that. So we are talking to our self-build audience about being really realistic about contingency and budgets, and understanding it's
Would you recommend buying early?
If you've got the space on site, if you can find materials or a product at a price that you're happy with, and you might have a couple of sheds or a lockup or a container on your site that you can store it and keep those materials dry and safe, then absolutely. Some people don't have the luxury of doing that, as particularly if access to a site is difficult. But if you've got that opportunity, why not?
What's your advice for more experienced self-builders who have done it once? Maybe they're not sure whether they want to do it again. Any advice there?
Yeah, it's so funny. So we get people who have just kind of finished a self-build, and they'll say to us, "Never again, Harvey. That I've done it now." And it's a bit like if anyone's ever run a marathon or something like that. That immediate feeling after, right, that is it. What, why on earth have I put myself through that?
Yeah.
Then the next day you start thinking about it. Think, actually, that was amazing. And actually, I might do my training slightly differently next time because I reckon I could beat my time. I think that happens with self-builders as well. They
Human beings are very good at forgetting about the pain that they once experienced.
Exactly, because they then start to look around at what they've created and think, well, if we did that first time round, with all of our experience and the learnings that we've got, what could we do second time round? So, and I mentioned earlier, with self-build, you will have to make compromises along the way. You'll be very, very lucky to be able to tick off all of your kind of wish list in your project. So if you have walked through the door of your self-build and you've achieved instant equity, so basically the value of that property is worth more than you spent on the land and the house itself, it is quite tempting to think, hang on a minute, I could go again here. And this time I'll learn from my mistakes and do things slightly differently. And I think that's why the case study section on our website is so important, because actually you don't have to make those mistakes. You can learn from what other people have done as well. And people that have gone
It's a brilliant
through...
website, by the way. I've looked at it. It's fantastic.
Yeah, thank you. So NSBRC.co.uk. And my favourite bit is the case study section, because you've got people who have gone through the journey, and A, they're really happy to show off what they've achieved, and rightly so, but B, they're also quite prepared to say, look, if you were going to do something like this, make sure you don't do this, or make sure you do it this way.
Yeah. Listen, the last time you were on with me, we touched very, very briefly on the demographic who are doing self-build, and you said to me that it was mostly people over 55 because of their background, their age, their savings, the bit of equity that they've built up over the years, and they've gone into it. But what about the younger people? We talked about younger people coming into this market. Just remind us, how they can do that. Is that opportunity there to make your first time home a self-build?
Yeah, the opportunity is absolutely there, but it's not in our mindset in the UK to self-build. So I could show you a graph that kind of compares the UK to lots of other developed economies and nations, our European neighbours, Australia and America, where far more homes each year are built by individuals, self-built. But in this country, we've tend to have always relied on a small number of large house builders to build the vast majority of properties in the UK. But there is another way of doing it. I think partly it is just awareness. There is, the famous program on Channel 4, which is an amazing program for creating awareness of self-build and the possibilities around it. But it does...
The one you're talking about is about millions of pounds houses.
Exactly that.
Yes.
And the reality is, and we know the reality is, a budget for the plot and the property is on average, and it is average in the UK, 350 to 500,000. So, you can buy a new build house for that. So if you can afford to get on the property ladder that way, you can absolutely afford to self-build. And one thing that we mentioned last time, which I thought was really interesting, is the opportunity to actually find an older property that might need an awful lot of doing up, to the extent where it actually might make more financial sense to knock that property down and then rebuild it, as a brand new home. Why wouldn't you do that? What we would love the government to do is put the same support for young people who would like to do a self-build project as people that have had the Help to Buy scheme, in previous years.
Yeah.
That would be amazing. And there is some noise that it might happen in the future. We'll watch this space.
So look, for all those potential young self-builders who are out there, and the second time round and the third time round self-builders who are going again and have forgot about the pain, whereabouts and how can they get in touch with you? How can they get to the Self-Build Centre?
So the National Self-Build and Renovation Centre, we're on junction 16 of the M4, just outside Swindon. Really easy to get to, loads of free parking, and it's free entry.
Thank you. It has been an absolute pleasure having you here, Harvey. It's
Thank
been
you, Mark.
a
Really
great
enjoyed
day.
it.